My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 32 years old. And I didn't realize my relationship was already over the night my boyfriend told me I was boring. Not loudly, not cruelly, not in a fight. He said it calmly, like an observation he'd been holding on to for a while. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were my thing. I stopped by the Chinese place near his apartment after work, the same one I always went to. He loved their orange chicken. Extra crispy. Sauce on the side. I knew his order better than he knew his own schedule. I'd been dating Ethan for a little over 14 months. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, bonded over music, talked until the room emptied out. He worked in marketing, creative, idea-driven, always talking about momentum. I worked in project coordination, structured, predictable, reliable. For a long time, those differences felt complementary. That night, though, something was off. Ethan barely looked up from his phone when I arrived. He smiled, sure, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You okay?" I asked halfway through dinner. "Yeah, just tired," he said quickly. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then he set his chopsticks down and exhaled. "Can I be honest with you?" My stomach tightened. "Of course." "You're really predictable, Natalie." I blinked. "Predictable how?" "Like, I always know exactly what's going to happen. Tuesday Chinese food, Friday movie night, Saturday morning coffee run, same rhythm, every week." I laughed softly. "You said you liked routines." "I do," he said. "I just didn't mean for it to feel so rigid." Something in his tone made my chest ache. "So safe," he continued. "So boring." There it was. Boring. I tried to stay calm. "I plan things. I show up. That's boring now?" He shrugged. Even my ex had more personality than this. That word, ex, hit harder than boring ever could. "The one who cheated on you?" I asked. "Twice?" "That's not the point." "Then what is?" "I just need more excitement, more edge." I quietly packed up my leftovers, stood, and grabbed my bag. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Being predictable," I said. "I'm leaving when I'm disrespected." "Natalie, don't be like this. I'm trying to be honest so we can fix things." I paused at the door, looked back once. Noted. I left. When I got home, my roommates, Marcus and Dev, were in the living room playing video games. "You look like you just lost a fight without throwing a punch," Marcus said. He compared me to his ex, I replied. Said she had more personality. Dev froze mid-game. "The ex he calls toxic every other week?" "Yep." That night, sitting on my bed, I did something I should have done sooner. I opened Instagram, and I searched for her. I didn't start digging because I wanted to hurt him. I started digging because the quiet finally gave me space to hear my instincts again. For the past month, something had felt off. Ethan had been distracted, his phone always face down, his replies delayed. I chalked it up to stress, deadlines, the vague, creative burnout he talked about whenever I asked if something was wrong. That night, after I searched her name, the pieces slid into place far too easily. Her profile was public, clean, curated, gym selfies, brunch photos, motivational quotes about growth and knowing your worth. The kind of page that pretends the past never happened. Then I clicked her followers, and there was Ethan. I didn't stop there. I tapped into her recent posts, then I scrolled and scrolled. My stomach dropped. Ethan hadn't just liked her photos. He'd gone back, weeks, months, liking old pictures. Commenting, too. Still got that smile, missed this energy. 3 weeks ago, last month, right around the time he'd started pulling away from me. I screenshotted everything. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I made a decision. If Ethan thought I was predictable, I would stop giving him the comfort of knowing where I stood. Wednesday. No good morning text. No lunchtime check-in. Nothing. At noon, my phone buzzed. "Ethan, hey, you okay?" I set the phone down and went back to work. At 3:07 p.m., "Are you still mad about last night?" At 7:02 p.m., "Natalie, can you please answer?" At 8:30, I finally replied. "I'm fine. Just giving you the unpredictability you said you wanted." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "That's not what I meant." Noted. Thursday. Same thing. Minimal responses, no explanations. He called twice. I let both go to voicemail. His messages shifted, less defensive, more anxious. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we please talk? You're scaring me." Good. Friday morning, Marcus caught me making coffee. "Ethan texted me," he said carefully. "Asked if you're okay. He sounds panicked." I took a sip. He compared me to his ex. Let him sit with the consequences. "That's cold." "That's boundaries." Dev leaned against the counter. "Are you trying to teach him a lesson, or are you done?" I paused. "I'm done pretending I don't see what's happening." Friday evening, there was a knock at the door. Marcus answered it. Natalie? Ethan's voice carried down the hall. Can we talk? Marcus knocked on my bedroom door. He's here. Tell him I'm busy. I listened as they spoke in the living room. This is ridiculous, Ethan snapped. We need to talk like adults. Maybe you should have thought of that before calling her boring, Marcus replied. I didn't mean it like that. There was a long pause. Can you at least tell her I'm here? She knows. He left a few minutes later. Marcus came back. He looks genuinely upset. So did I said quietly, when he said it. That night I dug deeper. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram stories. Nothing overt, but I noticed something else. Location tags. Bars downtown he'd never mentioned. A restaurant I'd never heard of. A gym across the city, nowhere near his office. Then I found the photo. 2 weeks old. A group shot at a downtown bar, tagged with 2 girlfriends and her. Ethan was there. She'd cropped him out when she posted it, but he was unmistakably in the original. I screenshotted that too. Saturday, I woke up to 12 messages from Ethan. Apologies, accusations, explanations. The last one, sent at 2 a.m. I know I hurt you. I'm sorry. Can we please talk? At 10 a.m. I replied, come by tomorrow at 6. Thank you, he wrote immediately. I'll be there. I spent the afternoon showing Marcus and Dev everything. The likes, the comments, the photo, the timestamps. Damn, Dev said. He's been circling his ex. I don't know if he's cheating, I said, but he's lying. So what's the plan? Marcus asked. I want you both here tomorrow, I said, in the living room. Why? Because I invited someone else. They stared at me. Who? Her. Silence. You invited his ex? Dev finally said. I messaged her this morning, I replied calmly. Told her Ethan's been spiraling, and I wanted to clear the air face to face. And? She agreed. Apparently she's been dealing with his messages for weeks. Marcus let out a low laugh. This is either going to be legendary or a disaster. Probably both. I went to bed that night oddly calm. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't guessing anymore. Tomorrow, everything would be out in the open. Sunday felt like waiting for a storm you can already smell in the air. I cleaned the apartment twice. Not because it needed it, but because my hands needed something to do. I wiped counters that were already spotless. I folded blankets that didn't need folding. I even rearranged the throw pillows like it would somehow make what was coming look softer. It didn't. By late afternoon, Marcus and Dev had shifted into the same nervous energy I felt. They tried to act casual, music on low, cutting vegetables in the kitchen, but every few minutes one of them glanced at the clock. At 5:24 p.m., my phone buzzed. Her. I'm outside. I inhaled once, then texted back. Come up. A minute later, there was a knock. Marcus opened the door. She stepped inside like someone walking into a room where a memory lives. Rachel, Ethan's ex-girlfriend. She wasn't how I'd pictured her from the filtered photos and gym selfies. In person, she looked real. Tired in a controlled way. Hair pulled into a neat knot, minimal makeup, eyes sharp, like she'd learned to read situations quickly. Her gaze flicked over Marcus, Dev, then landed on me. Natalie, she asked. That's me. She held up her phone as if it was an ID badge. I just want to be clear. I'm not here to fight you. I'm not here to fight you either, I said. I'm here because I'm done being confused. Rachel's mouth twitched, like she understood that sentence too well. We sat in the living room. She took the far end of the couch. I sat opposite, in the armchair. Marcus and Dev hovered in the kitchen, pretending to be busy but very obviously listening. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then Rachel broke the silence. He's been messaging me for weeks, she said. At first it was harmless. How have you been? Hope you're doing well. Then it turned into more. How much more? My voice stayed calm, but my hands tightened around the mug I wasn't even drinking from. Rachel unlocked her phone and slid it toward me. The screen was a thread of messages. Ethan, I miss what we had. Ethan, I think about you more than I should. Ethan, sometimes I wonder if I made the wrong choice. Ethan, can we just talk in person? Just once. And then the one that made my stomach flip. Ethan, Natalie doesn't get me like you did. My throat tightened so fast it felt physical. Rachel watched my face carefully. I didn't respond to most of it. Yet he still kept going, I whispered. She nodded. He started liking old photos, commenting. Then he showed up at my gym twice in 2 weeks. That word, showed up, echoed. Like he'd been building a second life in the cracks of mine. I handed the phone back, forcing my breathing to remain steady. So why come today? I asked. Rachel's expression hardened. Because I'm in a relationship now, and my boyfriend is sick of hearing my phone light up with Ethan acting like we're still unfinished business. My chest burned with something I couldn't name, rage, humiliation, relief. So he's not just comparing me to you, I said quietly. He's reaching for you. Rachel's eyes didn't flinch. Yes. At 5:58 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Ethan, on my way, please don't shut me out. At exactly 6 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Marcus opened it. Hey, Ethan said, too cheerful, too rehearsed. Is Natalie? He stepped inside. Then he saw her. Rachel. The air changed instantly. Ethan's smile froze like it had been painted on. His eyes bounced from Rachel to me, then to Marcus and Dev. What is this? He asked softly, but his voice cracked on the last word. I leaned back in the armchair and let the silence stretch long enough to hurt. This, I said, is me being unpredictable. His jaw tightened. Natalie, what the hell? Rachel stood before I did. Her posture was calm, but her eyes were lethal. Ethan, she said, you need to stop contacting me. His face flushed. Rachel, this isn't... No, she cut him off. You've sent me message after message, and you've shown up at my gym like you're entitled to access to my life. I was just... You were not just anything, she snapped. You were pushing, again, like you always did. Ethan's eyes flashed toward me, sharp with accusation. You went through my phone? I didn't blink. I didn't have to. Your likes are public. Your comments are public. The photo where you were in her bar group, public. She just cropped you out. Ethan's mouth opened, but his confidence was draining in real time. That was nothing, he insisted. It was a group hangout. Then why didn't you tell me? I asked. He stared at the floor for half a second too long. Rachel's voice turned cold, because he knew it wasn't innocent. Ethan took a step forward, palms up like he could negotiate his way out of this. Natalie, listen. No, I said, my voice quiet enough that everyone leaned in. You listen. The room went still. You called me boring, I continued. You told me your ex had more personality, and while I was bringing you food and building routines you benefited from, you were flirting with her online, showing up in her spaces, comparing me to her in messages. Ethan's eyes widened. Those messages she showed you? Rachel lifted her chin. Yes. His face twisted, anger at being exposed, not shame for what he'd done. This is insane, he said. You two planned this to humiliate me. Marcus let out a single sharp laugh from the kitchen. No, Marcus said, you humiliated yourself. Ethan's gaze snapped to him. Stay out of this. Dev stepped forward. We are in it, dude. You walked in here like you were the victim. Ethan looked back at me, voice suddenly softer, pleading. Natalie, I made a mistake. I was stressed. I didn't mean... You meant it, I said, because you said it, and then you backed it up with actions. Rachel crossed her arms. We've been broken up for 2 years, Ethan. Stop acting like you can reach backward whenever you get bored. His face went red, eyes glossy with frustration. I can't believe you're doing this, he whispered to me. I can't believe I stayed calm as long as I did, I replied. Then I stood. Here's what's going to happen, I said evenly. You're going to leave. We're done. And you're going to stop contacting Rachel. Ethan's eyes darted to Rachel like he wanted one last opening. Rachel didn't give it. If you keep escalating, she said, my boyfriend will handle it officially. That was the moment Ethan realized he had no leverage, no charm, no narrative. Just the truth. His shoulders slumped. His voice turned bitter. So that's it? 14 months and you end it like this? Like some courtroom? I held his gaze. You didn't want excitement, I said quietly. You wanted permission to keep one foot in your past while I carried your present. He flinched like I'd slapped him. Then, like a reflex, he reached for the only weapon he had left. You're still predictable, he muttered, always playing it safe. I smiled, small, sharp. And you're still the same guy who gets bored and runs back to what's familiar, I said. Except now you don't get to drag me with you. Ethan grabbed his jacket, his hands shaking just enough to show he wasn't in control anymore. He looked at Rachel once, desperate. She didn't even look back. He looked at me. I didn't move. And then he left. The door shut behind him. Not slammed, not dramatic, just final. Rachel let out a long breath like she'd been holding it for months. Thank you, she said quietly. I've been trying to get him to stop. I nodded, my throat tight. Did it start around 6 weeks ago? Rachel's eyes narrowed. Yeah, right around then. I swallowed. Because that was exactly when Ethan started calling me boring. Exactly when his distance began. We talked for another 20 minutes. Rachel was surprisingly grounded. Almost kind, once the tension drained out of the room. Before she left, she gave me a final look that wasn't pity. It was respect. Don't let him rewrite this, she said. I won't, I promised. When the door closed behind her, Marcus and Dev stepped fully into the living room. Marcus whistled low. That was the most dramatic breakup I've ever witnessed. Dev nodded slowly. And the cleanest. I sank back into the armchair, exhaustion finally hitting my bones. Was it too much? Maybe. But if Ethan had wanted a private ending, he shouldn't have been living a double story in public. I thought the worst part was over when Ethan walked out of that apartment. I was wrong. The truth doesn't always end things cleanly. Sometimes it just enrages the person who was counting on confusion to protect them. The fallout. For the first 2 days, Ethan went silent. Then the messages started. Long paragraphs. Voice notes I didn't open. Missed calls that stacked up like evidence I didn't need anymore. When I didn't respond, he escalated. On Wednesday morning, the receptionist at my office called my extension. There's a man in the lobby asking for you. He says it's urgent. I knew it was Ethan before she finished the sentence. I'm not available, I said calmly. Please ask him to leave. 10 minutes later, security escorted him out after he raised his voice, loud enough for my manager to hear. That afternoon, my manager pulled me aside. If this continues, she said carefully, we can help you file a report. I'll handle it, I replied. But Ethan wasn't done trying to control the narrative. He sent emails next, long, self-justifying explanations about how everything was taken out of context, how Rachel was misinterpreting things, how I had set him up. I forwarded every single one to Rachel. She replied with screenshots of his messages to her, explicit invitations to meet, complaints about me, confessions of regret. Use these if you need to, she wrote. I'm done protecting him. That night, I sent Ethan one final message. You contacted me at work. That stops now. Rachel has screenshots of your messages. If you contact either of us again, I will file a formal report. Do not reach out again. He never replied. And for the first time in weeks, the silence felt peaceful. The rewrite attempt. 2 weeks later, his best friend Melissa called me. We'd always gotten along, and I could hear the discomfort in her voice. Natalie, I think you should know something. Go on. Ethan's been telling people you were controlling, that you staged the whole thing with Rachel to humiliate him. I closed my eyes briefly. I figured. I know that's not what happened, she said quickly. I saw his Instagram activity before everything blew up. He deleted comments afterward, but I noticed. Why tell me this? There was a pause. Because he tried to contact Rachel's boyfriend at work yesterday, Melissa admitted. Claimed he was being harassed. Rachel shut it down fast, but he's spiraling. I exhaled slowly. Thank you for telling me, I said. I appreciate it. After we hung up, I didn't feel angry. I felt relieved, because when someone has to rewrite the story that aggressively, it means the truth is doing its job. Time does what drama can't. 4 months passed. Life didn't explode, it recalibrated. I slept better. I laughed more. I stopped replaying conversations in my head. And somewhere between a quiet Saturday morning and a coffee shop line that moved too slowly, I met Daniel. No fireworks, no chaos. Just conversation that felt easy. He worked in education, thought routines were comforting, found my consistency attractive instead of dull. When I mentioned my Tuesday Chinese food habit, he smiled. That sounds sweet, he said. Like something you build around. Funny how different people hear the same story. Rachel checked in once to tell me Ethan finally stopped contacting her. She thanked me again for forcing the truth into the open when she'd been too polite to do it herself. Melissa later mentioned Ethan had moved back to his hometown after losing his job during layoffs. According to her, he'd started therapy, said he wanted closure. He emailed me once, a long message about growth, healing, and apologies that never quite took responsibility. I didn't respond. What I learned. Here's the thing no one tells you. When someone calls you boring, they're often already emotionally gone. They don't want excitement. They want permission. Permission to lie. Permission to hedge. Permission to keep one foot in the past while enjoying the stability of the present. The moment you stop providing cover for that behavior, you become the villain in their version of events. And that's okay. I don't need to be the hero in a story built on omission. I was predictable. I showed up. I paid attention. And when the truth finally surfaced, I had enough self-respect to end it cleanly, with witnesses, with evidence, and without screaming. That kind of boring builds real relationships, and I wouldn't trade it for chaos ever again.